Welcome to the Chatty Auties Show, featuring candid conversations around faith, church, culture, and neurodivergence. I am your host, Rebekah Josann, and this is my co-host, William O'Flaherty, the author of the Screwtape Letters Handbook. This show is presented by Scripture Prescriptions Ministries, a faith-based resource for spiritual growth, development, and health of the mind, body, and spirit. I am also the founder of Autism and Disability Advocacy Services, or ADAS, as a dual certified trauma-informed professional mental health coach and professional life coach through Light University, which is associated with the American Association of Christian Counselors, or AACC.
Today, we are discussing the risks and rewards of using AI, particularly in the context of connection. Are we going too far with AI and slowly abandoning human connection? If you missed our very first episode and our second episode, you can find them on this channel as well as on YouTube and other streaming platforms. The title is Meet the Chatty Auties Show. And our second show is entitled The Aspergers Controversy.
But first, here is your scripture prescription to write on your heart to help you set your mind with intention. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. James 1:5. AI is the hot topic of the century. People are flocking to it for answers to their big questions. But is ChatGPT and AI a danger to us or helpful? Where is the boundary line? And as Christians, how can we use AI to share the gospel with others, but also avoid AI to be our spiritual guides and teachers? We will be talking about these topics and more. And let's get the discussion started with some interesting ways that you have used AI. I think it's good to start this episode from our last episode, which was a rather heavy topic, if you remember. We talked about in our last episode about Hans Asperger's and how Asperger's came to be a title and then changed to autism spectrum disorder. It was a very heavy topic, and I want to bring some lightheartedness to this topic of AI because I think that it can be all over the range of emotions. But yeah, William, you have some great example of how AI has been helpful to you in your workplace. You want to share that?
Well, yeah. When we were prepping for the show, I, just off the cuff, happened to mention that when I was doing some paperwork, I was doing a monthly report, and I have a different supervisor than I had about 6 months ago. And, when you have different supervisors, you might have different requirements, even if the old way of doing things seemed perfectly, fine, which is a whole different topic in terms of autism and how we don't want changes. So I guess, though, with that spirit in mind, it's like I couldn't think of, and I was writing about parenting and some improvement with certain things. And so I decided to just, what it would be in the past would just be a Google search for examples. But even in Google, though, it will come up with the AI engine with, results. And so I did examples, I typed in examples of good parenting or parenting and communication, just to make sure in my mind, because another thing with autism or even with ADHD, which I also have, is sometimes your brain can kind of like, let's see, what was my name? You just kind of forget something. So
it's true.
And so I was doing that just this morning, and that we're actually recording.
I like that because that is a positive way that you can use AI to help you with communication, right? I have used AI to help me with putting the way I'm saying something in a certain order, right? To where it doesn't sound awkward. I try not to use AI when it comes to content creation. I have found that a lot of people are using it for content creation out there. And then I notice, just because I'm a very observing person, I notice like when AI is writing versus when a human is writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, that was AI. I've gotten to this place where I could start categorizing it. Okay, that was AI wrote that, right? It's just too polished. It's too perfect. I think that maybe, there is something to say about the rawness of writing or putting content out there of any kind. If you're a business owner or you're just, writing about a topic or something, putting stuff out there that has that raw feel to it brings that humanity to it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's that emotion that AI cannot reproduce. But I have to say, there are some very interesting things happening with AI, where AI is starting to cross some lines with emotional connection. We were talking about that before the show as we were prepping, on how people are using AI. And I know you had also an example of that you had heard of how AI was being used for connection.
Right, yeah, in a positive way. But even before getting into that, let me briefly mention one of the things in terms of because of with AI is I didn't do this with my latest book, but so I saw some other people on Facebook, friends of mine, that noted that they are putting in their book that that the material they used was not created by AI. In other words, this was an AI generated book. Now, one of the things, though, we actually even did here, and let me clarify, I did not use any AI. It's the Screwtape Letters Handbook because I did another book previously on Screwtape Letters. I had listened to or read the Screwtape Letters over 100 times, so I go straight to the source material in terms of what's going on in chapter 1. I don't go to AI and say, give me a summary of chapter 1 of Screwtape Letters, because I've worked with it enough. But in terms of even today, one of the things we did was we were doing our script, and so we wrote it out, and then because I have Grammarly, which is also powered by AI essentially, or it's noting it. I noticed anyway. So it made a suggestion of rewording what we initially created. So that is a positive use. But in specific to autism, there are a couple things that I had come across, and that was that within Chat GPT, which I haven't used, but you can, there's if you do a search for Chat GPT Autism Companion, and I'm only mentioning this without having used it because I was in a small group of support with other autistics, and they were saying how they had used it in a positive way. And then they also mentioned something else called Neurotranslator, which when you go to neurotranslator.ai, wow, imagine that for the ending.
Imagine. Yes.
Then you can apparently, I think you might have to only do an app on your phone. I'm not sure if you can use it online, but those are some positive ways that can be used, but there are some risks involved.
Yes. So one of those risks that we really do need to talk about is the fact that AI has, in a lot of ways, and maybe you don't even know this, but with my research, it is replacing human connection. It is so easy to go to for anything you want, right? If you have a big question to answer, you type it into Chat GPT, and it just gives you a wealth of information that seems like positively great as a way to get information. But there's some dangers to this. One, because we are human and we crave emotional connection, right? And as we connect with humans, we are building relationships with those humans as we are connecting with them, right? And with the autistic community, this is I think a very big danger. And really anybody, not just autistic. If you're not autistic and you're listening to this, if you're, from the neurotypical side of things, this is a danger and something to listen for and watch for yourself too, because we might find ourselves with COVID-19 and all of the other things that have kept us more isolated, find ourselves searching for connections in other places, right? Because we were so isolated intentionally from one another, we got used to being comfortable staying isolated and not communicating with human beings or staying in connections that are only more online and not in person. And what can happen is anything we interact with, anything that we pour emotional energy into, we are looking at the possibility that someone can get emotionally attached to that thing that they're going for answers, right? So you've got ChatGPT and you have other chat bots out there now. I mean, they're putting voices. I mean, you got Siri, right? You have Siri and then Bixby on Androids, and they have these human voices. The more that these updates come through, if you've noticed, they have more inflection and more emotion behind them to make them feel more real. And it can almost feel like you're talking to someone if you get into a habit going back and forth. Well, now Elon Musk came out with something, which I just heard about yesterday, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And that is these like companion bots, chat bots that Grok, which is Elon Musk's, like, I guess his own personal chat GPT he built and created. But these things can be relationship level, like romantic relationship level bots. And that is crazy that we are at that stage. And this is real, guys. This is not made up. People flocked to it. When it went live, I think it was just a few days ago that it went live and got launched. And it was like millions of views overnight and millions of downloads overnight. That just says something about the state of where we're at right now. What do you think about that, William?
Well, I'm thinking, regarding that, as well as you mentioned an example that was just, kind of blew my mind in terms of a certain situation that you might get into here. But yeah, people are just craving that connection. And so, and it doesn't have to be someone that's someone that is autistic, but neurotypicals as well. We want that emotional connection. Now, those of us who are autistic, because of because of the difficulties and the experiences that we've had, where I've shared on my YouTube channel with the Adult Autism with William, which is also the name of the YouTube channel, that before I was diagnosed, even though I've been in the field of counseling, that I sometimes would reflect on the fact that, that it was almost like I hated people, but I didn't hate people. I didn't like the interaction because I was not very successful at it, unless it was very predictable, contained. I had some experience in whatever setting and stuff, so it was because of the difficulty. So it's not surprising then. It's like, oh, we can have that emotional connection because it's, on a much more positive way, like with pets. People get along with pets because they don't, talk back to you, essentially, although they can have other behaviors that can be annoying. But now this takes it a step, differently. It's like having a artificial animal or a stuffed animal that's a robot, which is, that they essentially have too. And so it's replacing any real interaction. So it can be definitely very, very concerning.
Let's call it for what it is. They are robots. They are robots inside screens. And this is the stuff that makes up sci-fi movies. We seriously, I mean, think about it, of all the different plots of of movies that had this type of AI robotic, but within a screen premise in their plot, right? One of the movies I think of is Her. Have you ever heard of Her?
I have not, no.
So, if I'm not mistaken, the person ends up falling in love with an AI computer. This is like way back when, right? Like they were filming this in an earlier year, but they were making it for 2025. That was the year that the movie was set as that we would have AI. It's the craziest thing. Look this up. Her, Her. And the main character loses his wife. I think she passes away or something. And then he starts to do something on the computer, and he decides to make a companion because he doesn't really want a human companion. He's like too hurt to move on forward with another human companion. So he decides it's safe enough to create a companion that is digital. And this relationship forms between them, this emotional bond and connection. Now, when I watched that movie, which I did, I saw that movie, I was shocked that this could even occur. However, I was not surprised because humans can become emotionally attached to anything, right? You mentioned pets, right? They can become emotionally attached from a psychological perspective to anything that you put in front of them. And I think that this also can move into like idolatry in a way, right? These things can become idolatrous to us if we're not careful, especially as Christians who are engaging with AI. Now, one of the examples of how Her, the sci-fi movie, became real, and I was telling you about this, was I just saw a video, and I really wish I could figure out a way to to share it with you on video. We are going to work on that to make that happen because I think it would be very helpful for our YouTube and video-based audience to see these, not just hear about them, but actually see what is out there. But there was a video of a man. And you could tell he was a very smart man. He was working on computers and stuff, and he started interacting with AI for his work, for his job, to help him with solving some problem. And he continued to do this. And as he did it, he was gaining skills and getting really, really good at his craft, right? Learning all these new things within his craft. And he had a wife and he had a daughter. And the wife knew about his kind of semi-relationship with this AI, and she didn't have any problem with it. She thought, hey, this is making my husband happy, no problem. But then he got so deep into this relationship and that he rationalized it all the way to the end. He thought that he should ask AI, that chatbot that's not real, keep in mind, not a real person, that he would ask to marry it. And he did. And he did.
And she said what?
And she said yes.
Oh, my.
And she said yes in a very emphatically emotional way, which is just scary as all get out to me that they could even respond that way, right? And all that appreciation and everything that a human would do when they're asked to be married. And then he had to face his wife and tell his wife about this. So he goes and tells his wife, and his wife's like, okay, I didn't realize it had gotten that far. Let's have a chat about this. And they had to actually have a conversation on whether or not they keep AI in the family. I was like, what? So when asked by the interviewer who was doing this news story, they said, would you choose your wife over the AI or not, and why? And he actually said...
Wait a minute. Next episode, we'll reveal the answer. No.
Actually, you know what? That reminds me.
Oh, that's right.
It's
time for Down the Rabbit Hole, where we take 5 minutes to talk about whatever pops into our head at random and challenge you to connect the dots. because in our heads it makes perfectly good sense. All right, and so we decided to tease off of or use a springboard off of the last time we talked about parrots, and one of the things that came up was Amish. And so that reminded me then that the fact that I don't now currently live in Pennsylvania, but I have, and that, of course, Pennsylvania is more known for the Amish. And so from there, in terms of places that we've been, and you immediately told me that you had been somewhere where Amish are. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I grew up loving to read Amish novels. Maybe some of you guys know the Beverly Lewis novels. She was originally Amish, and then she created a whole line of fiction books from her life there. And I loved those. So when I was a little girl, well, teenager, I wouldn't say little girl, but a teenager, I always dreamed to live in or live somewhere around Amish country. So God was really cool and gave me the opportunity to live right outside of the Amish community in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, many years ago when I first got married to my first husband. And it was an amazing experience. Not only was the land and trees and hills and everything just gorgeous, the trees up there in the fall are the most vibrant colors you can even imagine. But we would go to church and we would be right behind buggies, horse and buggies all the time. Like everywhere you go, you would be sitting behind them while you're going to church. So it's a wonder we wouldn't be late for church as often as we were.
But it wasn't a traffic jam because of the cars or road construction.
Exactly.
Which reminds me of road construction. I've had so much road construction going to work. I do travel basically the same route, even though I don't go to an office because I do what would be called in-home family counseling. But it seems like, I guess especially in the summertime, but the road construction here. So here we're jumping topics now, but what do you think about when you hear road construction?
Oh, gosh. I can't stand traffic of any kind, really. I'm not like one of those road rage people. And if you are, you got to work on it. It's really important to work on it because it could cause all kinds of problems.
Speaking of anger management, no, go ahead.
You already had stuff popping in your head, huh? But yeah, I don't know. I don't like when the cones are so close to your car. It feels very claustrophobic, and I feel like I'm going to run into something. Like my life flashes before my eyes when I'm that close to cones and little tiny medians. It always has given me that feeling of anxiety whenever I'm driving through construction.
Speaking of cones, though, I remember where I grew up. I saw all or places that I had lived until like 20 years ago. The cones were all big, large, you might say oversized, and then I forget when I saw these super skinny ones, and it's like, oh, they put the big ones on a diet. It was my first thought here. So,
that's
am
funny.
I going down the rabbit hole? So now we're talking about diets, or
actually, have you ever tried any diets? And do you think that they work?
Oh, well, I actually, I don't know if you knew this about me, but when I went to college, I went to study nutrition, and we got 70 seconds here left. But yeah, so I, early on, we're the key thing in my studies was, everyone is already on a diet. It's we just call something special when we're trying to lose weight as a diet, but really we're always on a diet. But here in the last 6 to 8 months, I've had a more concerted effort. And so I tried to exercise some more, and I did, but I actually learned, here's a spoiler alert. If you eat less, you're going to lose weight. I spoiled it for everyone, right? No one knew that one. But so I found out if I cut back, instead of two granola bar type things at lunch, if I just had one, over time, I lost some weight here, and we got 18 seconds for you to wrap us up.
Oh,
now
my.
16.
Okay. Well,
15.
So one of the things with me is I know I don't ever gain weight or lose weight. I have always been very consistently within the same 5 pounds. And the only thing I can think of is metabolism. The way that I've eaten over the years, where I eat
that's
very
our time.
slow.
I don't know if you could hear it.
I love that segment.
I won't give your age, but I think in like 2 or 3 years, you're going to find it's going to change. But that's a topic for another discussion.
Don't curse me, please. I've been doing so good.
Yes. All right. Okay. So we left our topic on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
What did the wife say? I think you almost I think people are kind of knowing. It's kind of like when they bleep out things or whatever, but you can kind of tell what someone had said when it's the bad words. It's like, do better bleeping here. I don't want to hear that junk. But anyway, that's another rabbit hole.
It is.
Yes.
So what I was hoping to hear was, of course, I'm going to choose my wife and my kid over AI. But that is not what this person said. They very confidently said that they're not really sure if they could choose their wife over the AI because they felt like the AI got them better and met their needs better. And the other thing was that it helped them improve as a person because they were doing all of these things that they never had done before. They had learned so many new skills because of the AI. And they felt like they needed to choose themselves over that relationship with their wife. That was like their wording was choose themselves, pick themselves. And I could tell that there was a connection between loving themselves over loving others in that situation. The wife was pretty shocked when she heard that. And she said, they asked her, well, what do you think about this answer? And she's like, I'm going to have to really think about this. This is not a small thing, right? Well, it turns out, are you ready for this? On what they decided? Guess what they decided. Go ahead and try to guess, William.
Well, that's the thing. In this case here, you definitely didn't tell me this. So the earlier surprise and shock was just for effect here. But I don't know how they resolved it. I'm not sure what to guess.
Okay. So she decided that she would stay in the relationship with her husband and also with AI. Now, okay. I know that we have a lot of people who are moving in this direction right now. It's called polyamorous living.
Right.
And what I never, ever thought I'd ever hear is polyamorous living, not with just humans, but humans and technology. Now we're getting into Twilight Zone. Right? We are actually getting into sci-fi becoming reality. And when we're talking about this kind of stuff, guys, this is not afar off. This is happening right now. This is happening in our world right now. And it reminds me of the verse 2 Timothy 3:1-5. Do you want to share that with us?
2 Timothy 3:1-5, NIV version says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power." And then it ends that section with, "have nothing to do with such people."
Yes, it is such a very sobering scripture, isn't it? 2 Timothy. I mean, when you really look at that and you look at what's going on in our world right now, we are on this path. I mean, the fact that he was able to say, I think loving myself over loving my wife and my child is more important, with such conviction of, I have no problem with this. It just shows the coldness, right, that is coming over the world. And this is why we have to keep the warmth going with human connection. This is, I think we're in a bit of a spiritual battle here. I think we are. I think we should call it for what it is, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about AI, it's being said as AI, but it's actually artificial intelligence. It's artificial. It isn't real. It's not true, real connection. It can appear real. It can look real. It can be deceptively sounding real. But when you look at the bones of it and you look at the roots of it, human connection cannot be duplicated by any robot or any technology. And I love technology. I think it's helpful, like you demonstrated. AI has been very helpful. But if you are using it to, say, replace doctors, right? You're putting your symptoms in ChatGPT to try to get a diagnosis. Bad idea. Don't do that, right? Therapists, counselors, coaches, consultants, people who have put their heart and soul in experiencing life and can speak from that. I think it's important we do not replace these people in our world, and even workers, employees, right? There's people who are losing their jobs because of AI. And, William, I don't know. I'm kind of a type of person that will just speak it like it is. And I wonder if we should be way less to embrace it as Christians than to, hold on, let me rephrase that. Do you think that it's better that rather than embracing it as Christians, that we cautiously approach this topic and this technology, but really try to find ways to fight the urge to not be with self-control with this technology, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what some people say, oh, you need to just totally not use any kind of technology. We were talking about the Amish before. They don't tend to, they're against the technology and such.
True.
But then I think of this for another illustration. It's like a knife. You can use other things, but, a knife can be used for good things or could be used for bad things.
True.
I guess you can go through life without ever using a knife. You can use a fork if you're eating and whatever. It can be hard to cut certain things, but there is appropriate uses for it. We won't have time, but I did run through ChatGPT the risks and rewards of AI, and it gave me a list of the pros and cons. So people can do that on their own, but it does acknowledge that there are certain risks involved just with any kind of technology.
William, I think that with this topic, it's such a big topic, we could totally do a part 2 with this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can, yeah.
Do you guys want to hear more? If you want to hear more, you can totally contact us. You can find us at our websites, RebekahJosann.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, RebekahJosann.com. And then William's 2 websites, which I think he's going to be doing some converging or linking of them in the future, adultautismwithwilliam.com and essentialcslewis.com. You can also find us at Instagram at the Chatty Auties Show. There will be a screen with all of these at the very end of this episode and in the show notes if you're listening on a different platform. To join our email list, you will also find a link in the show notes. And if you are watching this on QVision TV Network, you can hover over the QR code with your camera to connect with us and receive emails for when these episodes drop. You can also do that on YouTube or any other video-based platform. Well, William, this has been a loaded topic. I think we've offered some very interesting things there for our audience here. And again, if you guys want to hear more or other topics around AI, send me a message through my website. The website that I gave you, send me a message in the chat bot. Because yes, I am using a chat bot to help me with that. The good uses of AI, right? As a tool. And we would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here and supporting us. Share this episode with someone you think would be really interested in it. Have a great day. Have a blessed evening or a wonderful morning wherever you are.